LSEG has recently transformed its business model, transitioning from a more traditional stock exchange one to a leading global market infrastructure and data provider. I was hoping you could tell us a bit more about that transition and what it has meant for your workforce. It must have been a hugely significant workforce transformation.
Yes, it was, and just for context, I've actually just in the process of leaving LSEG. I was there for just over 12 years, and it's been an incredible journey. I mean, many people will know the London Stock Exchange as a stock exchange. When I joined, it's about 1,000 people, predominantly in the UK and Italy. And now it's 25,000 people in 70 countries, and it's one of the leading market infrastructure and data companies globally. So it's been an incredible journey. Of course, some of that's through growth, organic growth, but a large part of that has also been diversification, and diversification through acquisitions, whether that's product breadth, across the multi-asset set of classes that exist within financial services. And so it's been incredible. One of the most powerful aspects of it was the Refinitiv transaction. So if anyone's familiar with Refinitiv, it was the former financial risk and division of Thomson Reuters, which went into private equity ownership with Blackstone in 2018. It was a complex transaction, but we acquired that when I was in LSEG in January 2021, in the midst of the pandemic. So that brought its own challenges, but also propelled the growth of the organisation to be 25,000 people, as I say, across 70 countries.
And what would you say went particularly well, and what were the challenges?
Well, I think it was really important. We felt there was a need for cultural transformation. And we put a lot of care and thought into that. It was almost like looking at the best of both organisations, but better, and trying to harness the capability that existed. We also had some leadership transformation because, respectfully, the skills to run a 5,000 person organisation or a division of a large organisation are not necessarily right for an organisation at the forefront of that change. So we put an immense amount of care and thought into that culture transformation, involving our colleagues. I mean, 50% of our colleagues are in Asia. And trying to involve them was challenging in the midst of the pandemic because it was all virtual. But it did mean that we were able to listen and really curate a culture and a purpose for the organisation for the future. So that was a particular highlight from my perspective.
Any challenges?
Yeah. If anyone's been involved in acquisitions, you think you're going quickly. And my guidance to anyone would be, you can probably go even faster, because change and the dynamics of change actually became a bit of a challenge when people are struggling in those situations. And so one of the things we found challenging, we put an immense amount on our people leaders, phenomenal, high quality people leaders. But as you can imagine, if you're harmonising an organisation, streamlining processes, ways that we perform, incentives, there was a burden on them, and it was hard to equip them with all the tools when they were remote. So as a lesson, I wouldn't have slowed down the pace of that integration, but how you equip people leaders and really make them feel they can have those conversations was a learning from my perspective.
I must ask you about generative AI. What impact did that have in your thinking about transformation?
I mean, we're very blessed. David, our CEO, spent a lot of time, a lot of thought with both the board and as an executive committee looking at the future of the organisation. And if you can appreciate market infrastructure, which is providing services to thousands of customers, clients across the financial services spectrum, and also across multi-asset classes, you need your products to be highly resilient, working all of the time, highly in terms of its quality. So in December last year, we developed a partnership as an organisation with Microsoft. I mean, it's out there in the public domain, and it's really important to understand some of the context of that. It's a 10-year strategic partnership. Yep. Not only is it a partnership, Microsoft invested for an equity stake in LSEG, and their EVP of Artificial Intelligence and Cloud sits on LSEG's board. And I think why I emphasise that, it just shows you the long-term strategic importance. It's perhaps a message to some of the individuals listening in those organisations that are not doing anything about generative AI. It is a long-term situation and a long-term strategic partnership. One of the reasons that LSEG was looking to do it from a generative AI perspective is many of our products needed to be moving into cloud and cloud infrastructure. And as you can appreciate, Microsoft is one of a number of companies that provide that provision of services, but also the interoperability between financial services customers and the way that they operate, as well as linking it to teams using high quality data, high quality information that we have got within our suite of products, was an incredibly important aspect as we move to not just the shift to the cloud, but generative AI too.
Given all the geopolitical shocks that we've had to deal with, how did you focus on resilience with your workforce during the transformation?
So we were completely global, I mean 70 countries, so like many organisations we were dealing with the challenges with the Russia-Ukraine terrible war. We had civil and financial unrest going on in Sri Lanka as well, which I'm sure people are aware of. We had a number of natural challenges too, and one of the things, LSEG's Latin motto, which goes back to trading of over 200 years ago, is dictum me impactum, my word is my bond. And actually that value, when you've got these situations, treating your people in a way and supporting them, was something I think that is a core value of the organisation around integrity and how you handle people. And I think the way we handle those situations, and the best of intent, we put a lot of care and a lot of trust that was generated regarding that. That was dealing with each crisis as it occurred, but with a fundamental value and principle at its heart. The more longer term aspect, we had a very strong partnership with our CIO, Tony, and we really need to look at our technology capability and where our operational centres, our centres of excellence, were in critical locations. So we're not just dependent on one location. So we'd, as had Refinitiv previously, invested a lot of money in developing centres in places like Romania and Poland, in places like Thailand, India, Sri Lanka, where these become centres of expertise, and really looking at those sites and locations for future skills, the skills that are required for the future of work, for the future of our work, was absolutely critical as we tried to de-risk the inevitable challenges that come from many of the global challenges that we've all had to encounter over the last few years.